Remember Cadillacs from the old days? The boat that your great-grandmother used to love to drive? Cadillacs these days are completely unrecognizable from what they used to be. I remember when the first CTS-V came out back in 2004, 5.7 liter V8, 400 horsepower. It was basically a four-door Corvette. Since that time, we've had the ATS-V, the CTS-V, and now we have this introduced a couple years ago. This is a 2023 CT4-V series, not to be confused with a V of the older generations. What was the ATS-V or the CTS-V a few years ago is now the Blackwing model. This is not a Blackwing model. Anyway, all that naming you don't need to worry about. The point is that this beautiful CT4-V series is absolutely amazing. Recently, I reviewed a C8 Corvette. This is as impressive as a C8 Corvette in different ways, of course, but this just shows you how far American cars have come along. And if you've ever been one to write off American cars because of its cheap, low-rent interiors, plastic parts from a junkyard, then you will absolutely change your mind the minute you get into this, because these cars are nothing like they ever used to be. This is some really impressive stuff from GM, and these are cars that are the last of its kind, because with the electric revolution, sports sedans that are amazing handling, combustion engine technology is about to go away. So enjoy these while you can, while it lasts. In this video, I'll do a review of the car and give you all the reasons why this car is such a worthy competitor to its German counterparts. Big thanks to my friends at Covert Cadillac for letting me borrow this 2023 Cadillac CT4-V. I love what Cadillac has done with the front end. It has a look that's elegant, but it also has a presence that tells you it's not just your ordinary four-door people hauler. It's got something a lot more than that. If you look at the side of the car, you'll see this V badge, which will tell you it's not an ordinary sedan. This is the kind of car that competes with the likes of the BMW M235i, the Audi S3, and compared to those two, I think this car looks better. If I could change the design of the rear end of the car, I would take the license plate and put it on the trunk lid. That's how it looks like on the CT5, which I prefer over this one. But then the layout of the badge is nice and symmetrical. I like that the Cadillac badge is in the middle, the V on the right, CT4 on the left. So I think they almost got this right with that one exception. Pop open the hood and you see the V badge telling you exactly what you're driving. This is powered by a turbo 2.7 liter four-cylinder engine. It doesn't seem like much, but it does push out 325 horsepower, 380 pound-feet of torque, which is a good amount of power for a smallish car like this. And if this is gonna be your daily driver, I think this is the ideal amount of power to have in a car. The first impression you get as you get into the driver's seat is the fit, finish, quality of the materials. I love the steering wheel and the design of it. But then when you touch everything, it has that quality feel that you come to expect out of a German machine like a BMW or Audi. This is almost at the same level. It's incredible if you think about where these American cars used to be years ago and where they are now. The gap that they've closed is huge. And the impression that you get as a driver is how everything is oriented and focused towards the driver. Just like in the C8 Corvette, it was all about the driver. You get a similar sensation here. The way everything's laid out, the center console, the gear lever, it's all ergonomically designed. And so when you're driving, you can focus on driving and then intuitively you know where everything is and everything's very reachable. And so it doesn't distract you from driving. This is a smallish sedan, so there's not a lot of room back here. So if you need to carry people around regularly, the CT5 might be a better option just because of the space. But one thing I can guarantee though is if you bring somebody in here that's never been in an American car, or it's been years since they've been in one, and you blindfold them and you put them in this car, they would look at it and they would be shocked to know that this is a GM product, that this is a Cadillac. The refinement and sophistication of this is really just next level. Very impressed. This display reminds me of what I saw on the C8 Corvette. Crisp graphics, nice digital display. Same thing with this screen as well, responsive to the touch. You can adjust the climate either through here or the physical buttons down here. And the physical buttons too have a really nice feel to them. So the quality of everything in here is very apparent. There is some of this glossy plastic that didn't need to be in here, but it's a minor gripe. And then the all-important button is this V mode. So you got the two modes in this car, the V mode and the Tour mode. In V mode, you can actually edit the settings. So once you hit edit, you can change the steering, suspension, engine shift, brake feel, engine sound. So just customize it to your liking. And all of that, I think, is a pretty cool option that they included. Because with something like this, you definitely want the engine sound to be as high as possible. And V mode is what you'd want to drive it at mostly, because otherwise, what's the point? There's also the mode button here that you could use, and that changes your mode from Tour to Sport to Track with these predefined settings on here, which, as I just showed you, you could edit yourself. So I do like the configurability aspect of it. That I think adds a little bit something to the car. It's refreshing that in this Cadillac CT4-V, you can actually hear engine noises and sounds, which most other cars right now, you can barely hear anything. And even if you can, it's all fake. The four-cylinder engine doesn't sound amazing, but whatever sound that it does have, Cadillac's done a really good job with it to amplify it, to enhance it. So when you drive this thing, not only is it quick, but you also have that added sound to go along with it, which makes driving the CT4-V more fun. Not bad. It's hard to believe how much power GM got out of this 2.7 liter turbo four-cylinder. 380 pound-feet of torque, you definitely feel it, and I think it's a really great amount of power for this size and type of vehicle. The handling on this thing is very sharp and precise. It's so predictable. And the magnetic ride these cars come with, they're so perfect for what you want to do, because when you throw this into V mode and you want to take those turns hard, it can stabilize and firm up the ride, but then it can still also absorb all the imperfections and doesn't give you the jarring sensation. So it's so smooth and comfortable, and at the same time sporty when you need it to be. That level of engineering is truly remarkable. And when you do take those turns, the seats are comfortable, but I just wish they had a little more bolstering, because you do tend to slide around from side to side. And so the Tour mode is fine and comfortable, but what you really want to do is hit that V button and drive it in V mode. And the V mode changes everything, especially if you edit the settings and max everything out, so you're getting the maximum engine noise, the sportiest steering and suspension. And when you do that, you're driving a different car. You know something that works really well in this car? The butt cooler. In this insanely hot summer in Texas, more so than the air conditioning, the ventilated seats, they work super well. That is reason enough for me to have this thing. One thing that happens is with the driving assistant feature, with the lane drift, if you do start to veer off, the seat vibrates. I didn't know that at first. It caught me off guard. I didn't know if my phone was ringing or something, but I think the seat was vibrating, which works better actually. It's really hard to find any flaws with this 2023 CT4-V. It's such a great car, and it's so comparable to the M235i or the Audi S3. You could be very nitpicky and start to split hairs with some of the interior materials, but it's so much better than anything in the past. And the car is just a lot of fun to drive, extremely good handling characteristics. It's got the great ride. It's practical if you need it to be. If you need a daily commuter, this is really the car to buy, because think about it like this. A lot of people have BMWs, Audis, but how many of these CT4-Vs do you see around? Almost none. So you could drive something that's unique, that's different, be really happy with it. And then when the warranty expires, not worry about expense costs, because the engine that's in this car is also used in the GM trucks. So how expensive could it be to repair things that are on here? Which is really the beauty of cars like this. All of the components are reused across these different brands. This is still expensive. It's $56,000, so definitely not cheap. But long-term ownership costs are going to be much more reasonable than anything else that's out there. I was impressed with the C8 Corvette, and I would say I'm equally as impressed with this practical four-door sedan I think finding cars that are better than this, it's really hard. And I'm just super glad that these American car manufacturers and Cadillac are continuing to improve and build such amazing pieces of machinery like this.